All right, welcome everybody. This is Barney Kunze. I'm coming to you live from Ontario, Canada, and I am the best looking bald-headed Canadian person that you're ever going to find called Barney Kunze. That's going to be live with you right now at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, April the 17th. So anyways, I hope you're doing great. I know there's a bunch of you that are online. There's quite a few questions, some nice, big, juicy ones that had came through from Terry and Sarah. I see your questions. Those look like some really good ones. So what I want to do is, first of all, just tell you a couple of little housekeeping things about how these calls work, why you're here, how to get the best out of them, and also who I am, because some of you, we've had a lot of new people that have joined into the Animal Wellness Summit community and just in our page. So these calls used to be reserved for our VIP members, but it was unanimously voted upon them that there was just so much value and content that it was almost kind of a shame to have it be withheld within just the paid group. Now, they pay for access to all of our summit training and content. And again, if you're uncertain about what the summit is, it's basically a free online event that we do every year. And this year will be actually our third year that we put it together. And so we've taken all of the training, put it in a membership site and an app that you can pay for access for less than $1 a day to get access to it. But in addition to our paid offerings and membership community, we also have this free training. We have very brilliant, wonderful, amazing souls like Ana Maria Vasquez from somewhere in Colorado. Correct me if I'm wrong. She will when she comes on here. But I am excited. Last week we had some issues due to unforeseen circumstances, and we had to cancel the call, unfortunately, with Dr. Barb Fox. There's a lot of interest in learning more about vaccines, but we also have other cool things coming up down the road. So just so you know, you don't need to do anything in the future. You can, unless stated otherwise, the calls are every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Sometimes they change and go to 7 p.m. And then next week, we're actually having a monthly mini masterclass, but it's kind of up in the air right now. So we'll let you guys know what that topic is and who's doing that. And then it's just you can actually just pay for access to it so you can own it forever. It's $27. So a lot more housekeeping than I normally do, but I just had the sense for today that I feel like there's a lot of newbies on here with us. So welcome. And as some of you are already doing, go ahead and post down like Donna did. Hello from Austin. I just came back.
Hey, Donna.
Came back from Austin my first time and loved it. My wife and I are like, we really loved Austin. I'm presuming you're referring to Austin, Texas. We'll be going back there, and just let us know where you're calling in from, because I think our record so far is we had 9 different countries on in one call. It was really, really cool. So today's presenter, who has been with us, I think this is bad, but I'm human. You've been on with us twice, Ana Maria, right?
Yeah.
So I should introduce you. I have her off the screen. She's smiling, and she's sitting over there like you can't see her. But now we got to see her taking a big sip of her tea or water. Who knows what's in there? But welcome, and thank you for being here with us today. And you are from Colorado, right?
I'm originally from Wisconsin, actually.
Wisconsin.
You're
basically Canadian then.
Pretty much Canadian. It's true. Now I've managed my accent enough that people think, oh, you must have lived in Canada a long time ago.
They're like, oh, geez, you lived up in the Great White North in those igloos.
I bought a boat about a week ago.
I don't know if I can do that, but I will tell you before we continue on, I was down in Florida one time, many times, but the one time specifically, this guy, no joke, he was like, you're from Canada. And he's like, but you brought shorts. Did you buy those up in Canada? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, does it get warm enough that you guys can go in the water up there? And I looked at him like, dude, are you kidding? And he was legit serious. And I asked him, I'm like, well, before I tell you what Canada's like, why don't you tell me? And he honestly thought that all of us lived in igloos and it's always frozen up here. And I just said, well, maybe you should take a look at the map and whatever. It was very funny, but
he should come to your live event this summer. Then he would know exactly.
Yes, well, that, and also to update on that, we actually have rescheduled that for next year. We postponed it till 2020 because when we announced it, there was so much energy and excitement, and within days of us mentioning the event, we had planned on doing it last year, and then Young Living canceled their annual animal conference, And then there was a lot of concern we'll just say in the greater animal wellness community. And 3 or 4 other events kind of popped up and surfaced, and we're like, you know what, we'll postpone. We'll do it next year in 2020. So 2 of our presenters, one past presenter, Judy Gillum, is doing one in Las Vegas in October, and then Sherry LaMarche is doing one in somewhere in the States in June. And it was a little bit too short notice. So, but next year in May, if you want to mark this down, if you're a planner, it's May 9th and May 10th of 2020 in Ontario, Canada, AWS Live, which will be our first ever 2-day live training conference, will be held in Ontario, Canada. And by the way, for all of you Americans, who I jokingly say with a smile on my face, your level of ignorance to Canada sometimes is very high, whereas us Canadians, we do business with the States more often. And I say that with a huge smile on my face because I love all of our American friends, including you, Ana Maria. And of course, but the Canadian dollar is actually really good. So you can come up, if you bring $100 American, it's 130 in Canada right now, or in Canadian dollars. So it's pretty high. But we didn't get on here to talk about the Canadian exchange rate. We wanted to learn more about you, and there's lots of questions that are piling in here. So this is a hot topic. I don't think that I think probably from the time that it started to gain popularity and interest in mainstream, it's always been hot, and there's so much confusion on it. And I think it's just really good to educate. So before we jump in on that, though, I would really love for you to kind of give us just like a brief summary of who you are, what you do, and why you're here to talk about what we're going to discuss about in regards to CBD.
Well, absolutely. First of all, I'm here because you have a phenomenal platform. You know, I get to be a speaker feature on a lot of different summits, but this is truly, Animal Wellness Summit is one of my favorite because of the quality of presenters. Like, you really make us bring our A game, and I love that. And then that the learning doesn't stop when the summit's over. Like, it keeps going. Here we are. This is phenomenal because this is how our brains work. Yeah. So I love that. And
on a side note, I'll send you that $20 that I told you I'd send to say that up, right? That's a joke, everybody.
Canadian or American 20?
We'll make you feel the pain, and I'll send you 20 Canadian.
Oy vey. So my title is I'm an animal and nature intuitive, and I help people understand the messages coming from the animals and the natural world. And I am very much a believer in natural health. I love me some plants, the power of plants. And I have been studying the medicinal and energetic effects of the cannabis plant for over 10 years. And I have surprised myself with some of the things I've learned. I've worked with holistic doctors, I've worked with holistic vets, I've worked with growers and herbalists to understand how to work with this plant. And one of the most amazing things about CBD that we're bringing from cannabis plants, hemp plants specifically, is no high and all healing. So this is huge because our animals don't respond to THC in a very good way. They're very sensitive to it. So we have to be working with these plants where the different compounds are managed in a particular way. So you have to know what you're doing when you're growing, first of all. And unfortunately, you have to know what you're doing when you're buying as a consumer. But right now it's the Wild West, and it's hard to tell what's going on and what you're getting. I worked for a long time helping people find good products and then learning how to dose, because people think that as long as I find a good product, I'm good to go. No, then you got to start with the dosing, and it can be tricky to get that dialed in. So I've taken all the work out of it for people, and I have my very own line of CBD that is grown in the Sacred Valley just south of here under phenomenal conditions, and it has been formulated specifically for use for either people or animals. And then, of course, I bring my intuitive pieces to it so we can look at what's going on for your animal. We can get the dosing correct, but we can also look at the metaphysical things that are happening behind the symptoms that are manifesting, because when we work multidimensionally, we can create much more movement towards that balance.
For sure. And that's interesting, because I have been always interested, and for those who are interested, I'm going to tell you my opinion on marijuana and medical marijuana has always been that I strongly disagreed with the fact that it was illegal. And there's so much stigma around it and so much ignorance and lack of education. And I won't go into that side, but I think like as being a Canadian, I think it's great that it's completely legal in the entire country, which is a self-serving reason why I think Canada is really cool. But this brings up a comment about it's not even about marijuana or about cannabis or about CBD, but this is something like Brenda just said. I don't know where you are, what state you're in, Brenda, but I'm so sad that in our state that they've outlawed CBD and pulled it off all the shelves. Now, I don't know, but I would be willing to bet money that it has a lot to do with just conscious ignorance and or politics and or just the fact that there's some people that have strong opinions who have pull as to whether or not that can be taken off the shelf or not. And I know, again, it kind of gets a little bit complicated. So before we get into some of these questions, can you just kind of more clearly articulate and define and or distinguish the main difference between medical marijuana and or just marijuana in general that has THC in it, and if you know what that full acronym, what the word stands for, and then CBD and what that acronym stands for, because I've met people that legitimately think that CBD is just it's a legal way for them to, that it has THC in it, but there is some very distinct differences.
Yes, absolutely. These are great questions, and that's exactly where we have to start, because there's all sorts of nonsense going on and people don't know what they're getting, or they try something and it didn't work and then they think it was just CBD. All CBD is like that. So first and foremost, marijuana I call it the street name, the government name for cannabis that has THC in it. And THC is tetrahydrocannabinol, and that is the psychoactive component. That's the component that alters and makes people feel the high, whether that's in the body or the head.
Right.
Now, everything comes from the cannabis plant. Cannabis sativa is the main plant. When we're talking about recreational use of the plant, that's typically when people are talking about a higher percentage of THC, and they call it marijuana. So when we're looking at CBD, there are over 140 different compounds in cannabis that are useful for all sorts of antipsychotic, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumoral, immune boosting functions. We don't even understand all of them yet. I think we're going to see in 10 to 15 years, we're doing this very crudely at this point, just based off of what we know. And the reason is because there's been a systemic oppression of not just this natural modality. I mean, let's look at herbs like comfrey as well. These really potent, powerful healing plants that actually reverse things that have been happening in our body or our animal body are now made illegal or difficult, or, like in California, I know all sorts of herbalists who had to change their formulas if people were going to take comfrey internally, because again, these anti-natural kind of campaigns will find anything that they can and then blow it out of proportion to make it difficult. So it's so important that we get educated and we know for ourselves. There are times when I'm listening to people talk, I'm like, that's a lie. That's wrong. That's not true. And so we have to learn. So when we work with the genetics of the cannabis plant, we can either, like the recreational people are doing, they raise the THC percentage, or you can reduce that THC amount in the plant so that you produce a plant that is classified as hemp. And hemp means that it has less than 0.3% THC, which is nothing really, but there's enough in there because you need some of it to work synergistically. We all know this. You don't want to just take a vitamin C isolate. You want to take a whole orange and let all of the components work with your body the way that they need to, full spectrum. Now, when we start to talk about hemp, this is where it gets kind of weird too, because people know hemp seed. And so they're like, oh, hemp seed oil. Well, hemp seed oil on its own is great, and it's full of the B compounds and all sorts of other things, but it's not high in the CBD. And the hemp seed literally comes from the seed of a hemp plant, so a cannabis plant that's got the THC down to 0.3% or less. Now, what we're seeing in the industry, so hemp has taken off. We're seeing farmers get away from working with animals and growing hemp instead. And so hemp is typically taller and longer and kind of scraggly in the leaves. And they will, when they're using that, they're growing it for, say, industrial fibers or something, they will press the whole plant. And there is some CBD in there, but the strongest amount of CBD, the most potent CBD, is going to come from the flower. Any of us who know anything about, essential oils, we know this already. So we all have a leg up. So when they press the whole plant and it's just coming from industrial hemp like that, they're getting, some CBD, but not a lot. And so what they'll do a lot of times is they'll isolate it further, and they will, the fact that they're distilling it out to just pull the CBD, these wholesale oilers will then purchase CBD in all of these different forms. We don't know where they're getting it, how they're doing it, because they want to show that they have 100% pure CBD. So that sounds really great. As a consumer, you look on the label and you're like, oh, yay, it's 100% CBD. But it's not the full spectrum. And
Right.
It's typically a synthetic kind of process that it's going through. So sometimes people will actually find relief for them or their animals right away when they start using one of these weird kind of hemp derived ones, but it won't last. After about a month or two, all of a sudden they notice they've plateaued or they're not getting the relief. And what we know, as any herbalist will tell you, we need full spectrum. We need all of those components in the plants working together. So what happens at the ranch where my plants are grown, so the plants are grown all year, and we're doing this organically, and we're working, if they get bugs on one of the plants, we have another ecosystem set up away from those plants, and we take the plant out, and it goes and it sits out there for 5 days, and nature takes care of the bugs. And then we bring it back in. And I have a device that translates the bioenergetic field of the plants, so of our mother plant, the one that grows all of our other plants, and I record that music. Or I should say, I record that field, those frequencies, and it's translated into musical tones. We then play that music for our plants. Wow. So they're always hearing the mother plant reminding them of who they are and what they're doing. So they get that. That's huge. Then when the plant is all done growing and you cut it and you've harvested it and you're drying it, there's a point in there where for us here in Colorado, the Board of Ag comes out and they test the plant at that point because it has to be below 0.3% or else they will burn the entire crop right there on the scene.
Wow.
So there's that, finger crossing, holding kind of moment and holding your breath. But we have had high marks from the board. They actually use our grow as an example for the other ones because they got in at the beginning. It was a new thing in the area. It's phenomenal. But what we want at that point is we've got whole flower that is then extracted to pull out those CBD compounds, but we leave in the other terpenes and these natural flavonoids that are going to support the body in remembering. So the way that CBD works is we have anything with a backbone can benefit from that. So your parrot, your lizard, your dog, your duck, your husband, your wife, whatever, we can all benefit from that. So when we've done this, now I live in Colorado, which, like you said, unfortunately, I think Canada has it all over us on a lot of these places. You just did the whole country. Instead, we're doing this weird dance with, if you're on this side of the line, you're okay. If you're on that side of the line, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and that's how it's been, for a long time. And I agree. Without getting into it, we want to keep the focus, I think, of course, with the interest on this call for CBD, but a lot of what you said reminds me of all of the drama and the issues and the complexities and the layers of challenges when it comes to making a good, high quality essential oil. Because a lot of people have really jumped on the wagon in the last couple of years, like, oh, this other company is doing really well, or we want to add this to our product line because it seems cool. And I've noticed that with CBD as well. and that's the inherent challenge, where there's some good suppliers and some not so good suppliers. But when it comes to the bigger, kind of overarching challenges that come in with the CBD in general, I mean, yeah, now you have in the states that, like one lady said here down further, it was pulled, Amy was saying that it was pulled in Texas too because of a loophole. So, I mean, now you have some states that can buy it, some that can't, but I would presume, correct me if I'm wrong, but that if you can't buy it on the shelf in Texas or South Dakota, like the other, Brenda said, it was South Dakota that the state that they just pulled it. I would presume that you can order online from another state and have it shipped to your state. Is that, or are they like? I wouldn't imagine that they would have state, protection that from state to state that it's
well,
or do they?
You would be surprised all of the systemic ways that they use to suppress this information. I know myself, just on natural plant information, have experienced firsthand attempts to silence me in the financial way, where they try and threaten, we'll make it so you can't bring in any money, we'll make it so you can't ship things out, all of this. So it's all there. What I know is that I trust that there are a lot of really brilliant people working on this, and in those states where they have pulled it, they're allies that are working to reverse that. They can pull whatever they want. Yeah. All of us here, and I'm connected to other growers and suppliers, and we talk about all of this all the time because it affects everything. I mean, you don't even understand. It's so deep and it's so widespread. But what I know right now, and what all of us are working on off of the knowledge of, is in all cannabis itself, as the plant with the full THC, is scheduled as, or is listed as a Schedule 1 narcotic in the US, which means it has no medicinal value whatsoever, which is really funny because the US government that scheduled it this way also holds a couple patents on it, one for epilepsy in children and one on anti-aging pieces. So isn't that,
wait. Can I just clarify what you said? So you're saying that they have a patent on these benefits, but then there's certain states that have it, that it's illegal?
It's illegal in the whole country as a whole because the federal government has said this, cannabis has no medicinal value. It's like heroin, no medicinal value, and no one can have it. But then each state started to lobby and said, wait a second, that's not true. First of all, y'all own some patents on it that say that's contrary. So then each state started doing their thing. Then at one point, and this is actually old laws, hemp is legal. Hemp in that form of less than 0.3% is legal in all 50 states and in many countries around the world. So what I've learned in working with an unjust system and, being in this society my whole life, I've seen it in all sorts of different ways. So I've learned to work within the system and to stay under the radar so that I can continue to help people and animals. So at this point, I have 100% success rate shipping to all the states and to all sorts of other countries, including Australia, Canada, the UK, South Africa, Japan. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some places that we haven't shipped it. So when I work in places, anyone in the US won't have any problem. Yeah. If you're contacting me and I'm shipping you the products, you're not going to have any problem with that. When I ship internationally, I take a couple of precautions so that when it goes through customs, we reduce the risk of confiscation. Although we know that with anything you ship internationally, that's always a risk. But like I said, I've got 100% success rate on this at this point. So what I like to do is put the focus on education and get people educated. I know in our state, my grower has actually gotten our oil in the hands of our senators and our Congress people so that they can start working with that. Our oil is also not under my label, but under the grower in a Johns Hopkins University study on children. So I will tell you this, and the government with their epilepsy patent, you don't test things on children that you are afraid is going to create addiction or some kind of overdose potential. There is absolutely no proof of any reports of any CBD overdosing at all, or even hot THC tests from people taking CBD. So we have to learn there's a difference between the stuff that, here in Colorado, you can go and you can get stuff with THC or without.
Right.
So we have to learn as a culture that there's a difference. All healing, no high is CBD extracted from the flower of the cannabis plant that is classified as hemp. And you want to look at the extraction process. Oh my goodness, my battery just said it's going to go low. So you might have to ask me a really smart question while I finagle my.
Yeah, that's okay. You do your thing with I was going to say that when you put your wires up there. So Amy's saying that you can order online in Texas, but you're caught with it, you go straight to jail. That's not good, especially if you get caught. And Brenda's saying that in South Dakota, it is illegal to have it sent to you and even to be in possession with it. So this is where, without getting into this, because I want to get to some of the questions, I just think from a big picture, first of all, I believe that there's unjust things that happen in our, regulatory. Oh, you can't hear me? Maybe Ana Maria's, she's got to come off, or she's going to come back on. Can you guys let me know before I keep talking here? Can you guys still hear me, or did I lose my audio? Okay. I think it was just Ana Maria.
Perfect. Okay. I think it was on my end.
Yeah, that's okay. And Amy, I'm not sure what you were. Yeah, so she's talking about CBD oil in Texas sending us to jail, which to me, this is my humble, unofficial opinion, but that seems ludicrous. But I just think that there's a reason that they're regulating it. There's a reason why, and there's usually an ulterior motive or an agenda. And I always like to look at things holistically from why are they regulating
all of the money.
You won't even go there, but like vaccines. There's some people that are 100% anti-vax and then pro-vax. And I think that I went to a workshop this weekend, and the guy said, Dr. John DeMartini, he said it's a little bit ignorant to think 100% always one way or the other way, because that can lead to diluted forms of thinking. Now, there's lots of stories going both sides. I'm not saying I'm either way. I'm saying that sometimes in other parts of the world, some vaccines might serve. And bringing this back to CBD, because this is what we're talking about, is I think that it's good to look at it and see, well, that it's being regulated. You can't get it in certain areas. Find a way to get creative with being able to get it there if you can, of course, if you get caught with it and you get it shipped to you and you can go to jail, maybe it's not worth it. Or you could just maybe immigrate to Canada.
Well, here's the thing. We've got medical refugees, people who are moving their families to legal states because, here's the thing. I travel with this. This is my CBD without the label. So would you know that this is essential oil, that this is lavender, that this is CBD? You smell it. Yeah, it could be anything. You wouldn't know. I fly with this. I normally fly with it with the label. But if you're someone who's afraid, I understand. We want to Ruby, you got to be quiet. Shh. So we have to get educated. And for those who are living in the fear, whether it's of vaccines, whether it's of jail time, whatever, we want to look at that, because that fear everything is energy, and that fear is more detrimental than the actual threat you're facing. And I will tell you again, because I know all sorts of folks in this realm, that there's a organization called NORML, NORML, and they are big cannabis advocates, especially in the medical area. And they have an organization and a fund that will help people with their any of the judicial kind of costs that come into that. But I will tell you, it is a fear factor. They're just trying to scare you so that you don't do it. That's how they've kept us away from it for so many years as it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's because the fear is, when the people are fearful, they're easier to control. And so, I mean, for me, I think I choose to look at things as objectively as I can, to look at the facts, to see the big picture, to look at what are my intentions for using X, Y, or Z supplement or oil or product or whatever. Where is it coming from? How can I get it? Just the different ways. But I look at it and I think even with sugar and alcohol being legal and some medical drugs, and then they go and make stuff like this illegal, it just seems a little bit laughable. But I think that we've spent lots of time on this part, but I think it's important, because if you're watching this and or listening and tuning in live, you probably have some questions, and I'd love to be able to help with the assistance of Ana Maria, because she's the expert. Not, I am not in this instance. But before I pull this first question on, this is a nice big juicy one from Sarah, because it's going to take up the entire screen. Can you clarify for me, is your presentation in the summit, do you go into more detail with a lot, and did you do anything, or was it just this year with your topic?
On the CBD, I talk about the CBD specifically in one of my presentations. Is just CBD. We go through all of the distinctions. We talk about dosing. We talk about the things that it can help with in animals and how to start working with it. In my other presentation, the metaphysics behind your aging animal, I talk about different herbs and oils that I recommend for different things with an aging animal. And CBD, I mean, in my first aid kit, CBD is one of the first things I always reach for. You know, my partner, one of the grandkids, sneezed right in his face the other day. You know, she's only 2, so she doesn't have a lot of sneeze control yet. And sure enough, within 48 hours, he had cold symptoms showing up. And so I know to get on the herbs and oils, get those phytonutrients in. So for myself, I noticed some things showing up 24 hours after he had his symptoms. So right away, I upped my CBD dose so that I could trigger my immune cells to work more. I upped my intake of fruits and vegetables and berries. And then I also work specifically with some other herbs to help support my sinus system. And I've been able to keep it at bay. So we know, what I know at least, and you can borrow my trust, is plants always work. If it's not working, then you either have the wrong plant or you have the wrong dose. So that's where education is key. You know, I refuse to hand over the health of my animals and my family to anyone else, because I need to be the one who's in control. I'm a sovereign being, and I need to be the one that is putting this into motion. And yes, I'm always going to reach out to people who know more than me too, and that includes Western medical doctors. Western medicine is phenomenal at diagnostics and acute situations, and we wouldn't be where we are today without them. And I have utmost respect for people in the medical field, and it's not the end all be all, because I know things that they have been told aren't necessarily true either.
I like to take the middle road, you know, with that, because my mom was an RPN, registered practical nurse, for 40 years. And, you know, anytime I hear too much one-sided thinking, it causes a concern in me. If it's overly positive and everybody's always positive and always one way, and then there's the other side, well, they're just horrible. And but those extremes, there is a balance, but it's usually just the perception on that. And I wanted to mention that about it, because for those of you, I know there's a few of you on that are VIPs and or platinums. You guys can jump in, go to the members area, just type in Ana Maria's name, and then you can, or just type in CBD in the search bar. Or if you have the app, you can go and download it. Go to the app, and then you can search for her presentation and watch it, because that's the cool part, is you have access to it right then and there. If you're not, then let me know and I can hook you up. You can become a member and have access to everything right from the touch of your fingertips. But I wanted to mention that because I know there's no way that you're going to be able to go through and cover all of that in this call. But I do want to get to the questions now. And then Pamela was asking, your website is the one that we just talked about. I want to make sure that this is where, if they have more questions, they can reach out to you through your website, right?
Absolutely. So intentiontraining.com is my website. And you can look around there. There's all sorts of great information and freebies, and you can get on my mailing list where I talk about everything openly. I do, you know, again, riding under the radar, this is the first thing people will notice. They hear me speak about CBD. They go to my webpage and they're like, I can't find your CBD. That's because I have to fly under the radar. If I put it on the front page, that's how you get shut down. I can't do Facebook ads either. They will shut you down. All of these organizations are governed by our government, and the government puts them in charge of, don't give this person a bank account, don't process, you know, transactions for this person, don't let them blah 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 blah. It goes on and on. So, you know, I am one of those people who, you know, I want to be an advocate in all of that, but I don't want to be taken out because there's too much information to share. And so there are other people that their role is to be the front line. They're the ones going to jail. They're the ones going to court. They're the ones, you know, working with the doctors and getting these studies done. But my job is to share what all of them have learned and shared. And so I'm going to do everything I can to keep myself in that legal zone so that I can keep sharing, because I've seen too many animals and people being helped by this to just be quiet about it.
Yeah, it's I'm going to pull up a question here from Carol Ann, and then we're going to go back down to the bottom. It's okay, I can't hear anything, just so you know.
Okay. Astrid, he's like growling at me. He's like, I'd like to go do something else. This isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, like I'm not in the spotlight. Like, come on.
That's really what it is about. He's like, I haven't heard you say my name.
Okay, so these questions, so that was really good, and good on you for doing that. Side note, we can talk after, but I know quite a few people who are doing. You just have to know the rules of the game when it comes to Facebook world, because you can actually do it successfully. You just have to do it. It's the way your copy is. So Carol Ann's asking, can you tell me if you have seen CBD not work for some people or animals, especially seniors? So basically, have you ever seen it not work?
I have seen it not work when people, again, people who are getting products that aren't full spectrum. So the isolate ones, if it says 100% pure CBD, it's funny that she wrote, seniors or animals. Little old ladies and their little old dogs are like my biggest clients, and the ones who are seeing the most kind of relief from it, because the way that it works, that anti-inflammatory, any kind of arthritis or chronic pain, they're seeing the reduction in that. So when I see that someone's not getting results, it's either the product or the dosing. And it can be very, very frustrating and complicated. So I say, find a product that the extraction process, how they were doing it. Again, just like the seed to seal with Young Living, you have to know. It's so important. All of those steps are vital because you're going to ingest that, so you have to. So that's beautiful because people know I'm like this renegade. I'm serious about cleanness in the plants and the food that I work with. And so I got tired of trying to make sense of these ridiculous labels. In the US, it's considered a dietary supplement. So there's no regulations. People can say anything they want, and they don't even have to tell you everything that's in it. That's ridiculous to me. So we have to know, we have to be educated. And, my dad, who is a huge convert, in the US, we had that program DARE, Drug Awareness Resistance Education. He was like the biggest DARE dad. And I was a DARE presenter because I was like, say no to drugs kind of thing. But there was part of the story they didn't tell me. To just take them and tune out and, throw things away, that's one thing. But to connect with the plant on an energetic level to provide you the balance in your body, that's what we're really trying to do here. So my dad sent me a picture at a gas station, of all places. I almost threw up, of this bottle of CBD, and it was like $9 or something. And he's like, what do you even think they make this from for $9? Because we know, a bottle of sacred frankincense, a bottle of helichrysum, any of those, we know what we're going to pay for quality, effective plants. And so we got to pay attention to that. We got to start to learn about that.
Yeah, and I think that was great. And then we'll go on to the next couple here. So I think that the difference with the oils, from my experience, is that I've said, don't believe anything I'm telling you. This has been my education.
Yes.
Take the oil. Here's 3 other brands. Here's Young Living. This is just for those of you who use other brands. You maybe do this with your own. But I found over now almost 10 years using Young Living. I wanted to know that I knew that I know that I could look people in the eye and say, listen, I've been to the farms, I've met Gary Young, the founder, rest his soul, and I've also been taking the time to travel to go, because I just wanted to know if I'm going to promote it, that it's legit. But aside from all of that, you can sniff test, and if you're healthy and in tune with your body's innate intelligence that we've all been born with and given to us by our creator, it tells us, right? But I think the difference with CBD is you can't smell, right? You can't smell it, and then maybe a little bit, but
if you really know, I'm one of those people, just like those, aromatherapists and the real experts in the essential oil world. Well, they can smell and they can tell if something's off. I can tell in CBD too. Right. I can take a smell and I'm like, what is that? But for most people untrained, you wouldn't know. How would you know? You don't even know what they are talking about on the bottle and the words and the milligrams and any of that. So you have to go with somebody that you trust, a company that you trust. And like you said, this time where you've seen and you've got again, yeah, there's a lot of different brands out there, like even with essential oils. But what I've seen is the experts that I trust, the holistic veterinarians. What are they using? They're using Young Living over and over and over and over. And we've got all these thousands and thousands of case studies around the world. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with someone who I trust. You know, this person's helped me with this issue or that issue. I trust them. I've got that rapport built.
Yeah, and then I guess the next thing is if you can't sniff test, but you can dose, or you can do energy testing or
muscle
testing, right? So Cheryl's saying great info. Thanks for sharing, Cheryl. Barb's asking, hi Barb, I recognize your name. I don't know if you're one of our VIPs or not. If you are, I apologize, but I recognize your name. She's asking, for a Mustang trust issues, I was told get 1-to-1 with CBD THC, but how many milligrams?
Well, that's interesting. 1-to-1 means that there's equal parts CBD and THC, and we know THC is that psychoactive component. Now, for the longest time, that was the advice, 1-to-1 for animals, because we really couldn't get anything else. And if you're in a state where you can do that, but you got to bring it in very slow. Now, in terms of milligrams, you have to know not just the amount of milligrams that are in the bottle, but how big is the bottle. So it gets a little bit confusing. And with horses, we're finding effects, and you always want to start low and go slow. That's the biggest thing. Like, it seems like, oh, if a little bit's good, you know, I'm going to do more.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. First of all, it's expensive. You know, it's just like when we pull out our sacred frankincense, you know, we don't just start blessing the whole area, waving the bottle around. You know, we're very specific about how many drops we're using and all of those pieces. So, you could either go with a CBD, again, full spectrum CBD, where it's not that 1-to-1. Otherwise, you're going to have to be in a legal state to get 1-to-1, because it means that you have that psychoactive component in there. For horses, we're seeing relief starting at about 30 milligrams, but some even at 10 milligrams. So you got to start to dial that in. And what you do is you try you find out, based on all of these formulas, how many milligrams are in the bottle, how big is the bottle. You can figure out how many milligrams are in each drop, and then you can figure out. So I know in my bottle, that 6 drops equals approximately 35 milligrams. So, and then you want to apply that in the gum, in the soft tissue, because once it goes into the digestive tract, it is broke down and the potency isn't there. So you want that soft tissue of your mouth, your horse's mouth, whatever. My horses, I just pull it out. I give it, everybody on our ranch gets it for just basic prevention. The thing is we've been working so long at looking at reversing things that already got out of balance that nobody was looking at prevention. And we're like, if this can shrink tumors, if this can settle down your brain, what could we be doing in prevention? And the high level of B vitamins and compounds in it is pointing to, and the way that it works with our immune cell functions, it's pointing to getting that in on a regular basis just for homeostasis in the body. So I would start again at about 10 to 30 milligrams per day for about a week and see what happens with that. You really want to watch and pay attention. They're not, again, you have to make sure you got a high quality piece, because what if they extracted it using, hexane or, butane or some weird thing that's got some kind of residue left? Your animal is going to be, susceptible to that. So you want to make sure first you have a real quality product that you trust, and then start low and go slow. Watch them over the first week, then you can bring it up. What typically happens is you got to take it can take 3 to 4 weeks sometimes to dial it in. Some people, it's super easy. They start doing a couple drops, or their animal does a couple drops, and it's great. Yeah, I have a person who is a cancer patient, and he's using it in conjunction with the traditional things. He's only taking 3 drops a day. It's so low, but that came through muscle testing for him with his naturopath. They're doing 3 drops a day. To me, I'm like, oh my goodness, if I had cancer, I'd be doing a lot more than that. Yeah. But I'm trusting his system. And not only have they seen a reduction in the tumors, but his energy is so high. He had a lot of old issues from accidents and injuries, and he was on narcotics to help reduce that pain. He said he feels 10 years younger, and all he takes is the CBD. to mitigate the pain and things. And then there's other folks. I've got a German Shepherd with back end issues that's taking 15 drops 3 times a day. So it's so individual. You can have a chicken that's taking a higher dose than a horse because it's individual for our own body. And our own body has endocannabinoid receptors, but we've been kept away from the plant for so long in all sorts of forms that a lot of them are shut down. So when you first take it, this is also true. So if anybody was in the recreational realm and they maybe years ago they tried it and they're like, oh, nothing really happened. So I was never, or yeah, it's usually nothing happened. So why waste the money? But it's because their receptors aren't there. And I'm not saying go smoke some more, but I'm saying when we take the compounds in our body, it triggers the body to open up those receptors again. So you might not notice anything at first, but after a few days with the CBD, your body's going to start to create its own.
Yeah, I call that, from the holistic health perspective, I call that a healing crisis. When it comes to detoxification, or when you start using oils too, some people that will take them and then they might use more, but other people they can't use as much. So I think the bottom line, which is really great, that was amazing for in-depth details as well. In addition to, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, the short answer for her is that 30 milligrams, you said 10 to 30 milligrams a day, to give her some context for Barb, and then start there and kind of work your way up, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, because there's lots more questions coming in, so let's keep flying through them if we can. So Carol's saying, thank you so much. Glad you were doing this. This is a good one. I know I don't just say as many as you can compliantly. I don't know what compliance regulations there are, but Pamela's asking, can you mention all the conditions you would use CBD oil for? So I don't know what latitude you have in regards to
it's the same. It's absolutely the same. And that's what I want. I have so much gratitude for Young Living, who brought me up in compliance to understand. And, my other colleagues in the natural healing modes, because we've been taught there's a witch hunt to shut us up. So we learn to say it may. So I'm going to put my big it may help with issues like anxiety and stress. It may help with chronic pain and inflammation. Actually, that's the one that I see the most relief from the quickest. I work with animals and people, and I'm working with one guy who he's really big. Gosh, he's got to be almost 300 pounds. So there's a lot of other issues going on in his body, but he has been on heavy narcotics for years just to manage pain so that he can walk. He doesn't take it anymore. He does 6 drops of my oil 3 times a day, and he doesn't go anywhere without the oil. And then one day, and it helped him also get off of chewing tobacco because he was trying to get off, and he said he was going to kill somebody the first time he did it. So he started using the CBD oil, and his wife couldn't believe it. And then one day,
coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Any of those things we're addicted to, we need to help bring balance. And then one day it was, there was a thunderstorm, and he's got a little tiny chihuahua, and she gets just beside herself, shaking uncontrollably, so scared. And he didn't know what to do. And he grabbed the CBD because he knows it's for animals, even though I'd been working with him on it. We hadn't talked about any of his animals. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do 2 drops, for this chihuahua, and within 30 minutes she was sleeping peacefully in the middle of the storm. So again, some people, they have the effects right away, and then there's other folks, and depending on the severity of the condition is going to determine how long it takes for you to really feel the relief and dial it in. So you use that 4 to 6 weeks to dial it in. Then what I find, because everybody, it's so interesting, am I going to have to be on this for the rest of my life? Well, it depends, and I'll tell you one thing, I'd rather be on a plant the rest of my life than some kind of pharmaceutical that's creating all sorts of other imbalances. But you stay on it. Once you dial in your dose, you stay on that for about 3 months. And that gives your body time, because your body naturally produces CBD on its own. But it's forgotten. A lot of us are deficient in that. So after the 3-month period, then you can test. We can reassess, where is your body at? And a lot of people can go down to a maintenance dose. And that might be a daily maintenance dose. That might be once a week. It just depends. My one cancer patient, he's probably going to be able to go down to once a week, maybe even once a month at some point.
And does this apply for the same for animals? Like where you start slow, but like you do a focus period, which when I would do supplementation and still do with some of the Young Living stuff, but with clients, is that they ask, they're like, well, do I have to keep taking it? I'm like, I don't know. It depends on, if you're questioning, and even for everybody out there, just try and let me know if you agree with me here, Ana Maria. But I think you go on a focus period of about 3 to 4 months, and then slowly go off, or just take a break and see how your body responds, and then you can start cycling, 1 week on, 1 week off, or 1 day on, 1 day off, or a month on, a month off, and then you just test, because at the end of the day, it doesn't. This is a perfect time for this comment here, which, Pamela, I hope this gave you some insight into some of those questions, or pardon me, some of the answers that Ana Maria could share about the ailments and conditions. But Lori is saying, too much information out there makes me not want to even try out of fear of doing wrong. Thanks for the info. And that's exactly why I just think it's ludicrous that it's illegal. But I also know why, because there's hidden agendas, and it's political and financial and regulatory and all that crap. But at the end of the day, that's where they want you, or that's the intention behind the elite when they make it illegal, is because now you're so scared that you're not even going to go and try until you get on a call with this crazy bald-headed guy from Canada and this super cool lady from Denver to clear up some of the confusion. And I think, as an encouragement, and again, let me know what your thoughts are here, Ana Maria. This is just from my humble experience in holistic health for the last 18 years myself with humans. But that don't believe anything we're telling you. Get some good quality CBD. And before I mentioned, so they can go on your site and they can purchase from there. They just have to kind of look around a little bit, right?
The best way is going to be to email me. So if you go to my site, you'll see the contact form. There's one at the bottom of my page. It says the power of plants. It's an opt-in, because again, I can't just share information willy-nilly. I have to make sure that you're in my secret circle, and then I can share openly. So you put your name and email in, it'll automatically take you to the presentation, and you'll get more information, and there's order buttons there. Or just email me, Ana Maria, ANAMARIA, at intentiontraining.com, or go to my site and click that. There's different ways that I can get you that, but that's what I would say, that mission accomplished. The powers that be, they know how to do this. They do it really well. And I think about reefer madness and all of those pieces. So you just gotta trust. I remember when I first entered the natural health world, some of it I thought was batshit crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? We can't do that. That's not possible. The doctor's science, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. Because I definitely believe in science, but I also believe that not all the voices are represented at the table. And that's what is very frustrating. And systemically, again, a university cannot do the peer-reviewed studies on this because they can't get their hands on the product, because it's a Schedule I narcotic, and they'll lose their funding. So that's why, you think, oh, if it's so great, why isn't everybody talking about it? Why isn't it on the front page? Because they don't want it to be.
Yes, and they can control it. And I think that this is where I'd like to give an encouragement of empowerment to educate, through this sharing, educating, and teaching, is that respectfully, don't believe anything that we're sharing with you, and do some of the research to a degree. But make it easier. Go to Ana Maria's site. And that's why I know that Young Living had one point had partnered with a company. Now I don't know what's going on, if they're still partnered to sell it or not. And I say that just because I hadn't purchased CBD oil other than from another company that I get my chaga mushroom supplement from. That's North American Herb and Spice. But I want to encourage you guys, if you do want some, I don't know of a better source myself personally. I'm not the expert, but I think that you can kind of tell Ana Maria has a little bit of experience. And to me, I love supporting our not only our presenters, but people who have spent their time and a good fraction of their life studying these types of things. And if you're concerned, then go do some more research. But if you're interested, go to her website, purchase some, try it, go on a rotation, like a kind of like an application phase or schedule, and then back off, and then put it back on again, where you can give yourself a bit of a chance to see what your experience is. Because I think that there's just so much misinformation and miseducation. However, we have the responsibility as individual human beings to decide how much of this we're going to believe, or is it all one-sided? Is it really all that bad? Is it really all that good? And to look at things objectively. And I have really been learning that lesson humbly as a 35-year-old husband, father, business owner, entrepreneur, to just look at the information and then not let the fear come in, but if it does, then question where it comes from, because then it takes all the like the icky scariness feeling away, where that one lady I think that I pulled up, that she said she was so scared that she just didn't, Marie, I think, didn't do anything because there was so much uncertainty due to the conflicting information.
And I never had the intention of having my own line of CBD. That was never my intention. I was very happy with just my private sessions and sharing information about this. But what I started finding is it was so hard, just like all the viewers are saying, how do you know what's what? Yeah. And so I know what my standards are, and the people in my tribe know what my standards are. So this is how I can help you. So intentiontraining.com is my website. Yeah. The Power of Plants is the place that you can get in to see a little presentation that I did on it, and order buttons. I also have a package where you get a 30-minute consult with me where I will hear from you what's going on. I will check in intuitively on the dosing and which product, because I offer oil drops and rub. Yeah. And it's going to depend. Some people are all drops, some are a little bit of A, a little bit of B, but I'm going to check in there, and I'm also going to look at the energetics that are going on. What are the metaphysics that are behind the symptoms that are manifesting in your animal? And we're going to look at that. So you've got me 30 minutes where I'm looking at that. I also have an access page that you get in addition to those two. In addition to the products, there's an access page with all sorts of tutorials.
Well, that was weird. If you guys are still there, I don't know what happened to Ana Maria, but we both just got kicked off. That's weird. Can you guys just let me know if we're still live and if you can hear me? Did you get kicked off too?
I did. I got kicked off.
Maybe they're listening. They're like, oh, we're going to cut these guys off. But we're not going to put that out there. So let's just get right to this. I would like you to, first of all, I want to acknowledge a couple things. There are some questions. People are wondering what the difference is between Young Living, doTERRA, and another company. I know Melissa Shelton, who used to be with Young Living and was a distributor. She broke off due to a disagreement or misunderstanding, or she just grew in her own regard and has her own company now. And some of you saying, I posted this, I hope it's okay. I'm not going to say anything one way or the other. I know of her, but I don't know her. I don't know the quality of the oils. I can't speak to them. But I also would like to say that just from an objective standpoint, that I've tested a lot of oils. Hers is not one of them. But I think that you just got to go with your gut. I believe in Young Living. I think, Ana Maria, you use Young Living. But I really strongly believe to keep that like neutral standpoint. Here's the education. You make the best decision that's right for you. And also I want to just acknowledge, not that it really would matter, but I would say that I just want you guys to know that me promoting Ana Maria's website and the CBD oil, I don't earn a single dollar from it. I'm not going to. I just want you guys as a supporter. If you resonate with it, go for it and do that, because she's obviously offering a lot of, that's pretty amazing, by the way. I didn't think you were doing that. So good on you. And can we go through some rapid fire questions?
It's 14 hours.
Because it's 14 hours, aka 2 o'clock. If we can do like really short answers, let's get some of these questions in here, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so will CBD help with allergy issues for a 45-pound dog?
I'm so glad you brought that up in terms of allergies, because we didn't even get to talk about that. And I have my own personal experience. I'll get sometimes like seasonal or environmental allergies, depending on what I'm around and things like that. Yeah. And I was in the middle of this, like all of a sudden the whole sinus is like clogged up, and I like had hives, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having a reaction to something. And so I took a big dropper full, and within 30 minutes, and it takes about 30 minutes for the plant to activate within your system, everything had come down and everything was balanced. And my dad had he had a food reaction, actually. He didn't realize there was a certain food in a sauce, and all of a sudden everything started blowing up, and he didn't have his CBD oil with him. And I said, you need to start traveling with that all the time, because, he ended up having to use his EpiPen, and that is not, you know how expensive that is too. So for allergies, again, allergies are a tricky thing. And there's a lot of things that are being called allergies that are really an imbalance in another area of the body. but I have seen allergy issues. Again, it's a little bit of a longer term fix because we got to get that body back in balance, and we're looking at topical places, hot spots on the body, and we're looking at the imbalance in the body. So at a 45-pound dog, and I would talk to you about the severity of the allergies, we would start out probably somewhere around 4 drops twice a day. And sometimes we'll use the drops, not just taken internally, but also applied topically to kind of support the system in 2 different ways. And we can use the rub as well.
Well, this is interesting. We've never had this happen before, but as the old saying goes, never say never. So I don't know, you just like keep popping out of there. But so you do use it. So you have the rub, but you can use it topically, because there was another question which you may not. There's somebody that was asking, right here. Donna was asking, is the CBD as effective when used topically on animals? And I think you were kind of getting into that.
Yeah, when I work with
and remember,
people, can you hear me okay or no?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna. Okay. That's good. We'll keep it as short as we can, because I want to get through a couple more questions.
When I work with people with chronic internally, and then we use the rub for breakthrough pain through the day. Like I said, it takes about 30 minutes to feel that, the shift in the system. When I work with animals, a lot of times, again, on those hot spots, we'll use the drops internally and topically. So I think that these are really great questions. And I also think that a session with me also helps, because we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. So if I can help you feel more confident in using it, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, that's great. And I realized I clicked the wrong button, and I was on live for about 10 seconds and you weren't. But this is the way it goes now. I'll have to connect with you after, but on this officially. But did Jamie, my assistant, reach out to you about doing a monthly mini masterclass on this?
She did, but the date, I couldn't make the next one. So I told her to just put me in the thing and then let me know when, and I'll put something together.
Okay, so I want to ask you guys this, because I can tell you, I can feel, without sounding weird, I can feel the anxiety on the call or on the live right now, and I'm pretty good right now. I'm saying that because there's my sense, I could be inaccurate, but I think it's pretty on that there might be some interest in digging deeper into this. And this is the challenge with doing the free calls, is we've allotted an hour. We're over an hour, and there's a lot of questions that I really want to answer, and I don't want to let you guys have Ana Maria to feel rushed, and I don't want you guys to feel like you didn't get some of your questions answered, although it's completely challenging for us to answer all the questions, because it depends on how many. Sometimes we have 15, sometimes we have 50 or 150 people on the call. So my question to you all on live right now is if and or when Ana Maria and us at the Animal Wellness Summit put together a small little paid training on CBD oil, because this is a very expansive topic. These monthly mini masterclasses, it's a one-time purchase. It's $27. There's a video, the training, an audio, and then the transcript, and you can then download it and keep it. That's how the logistics work. And of course, Ana Maria has to agree to it yet. And this is a little risky of me asking her on the live call, but I figured she'd be pretty cool with it. So we just have to set it up. But my question for you is, and just go comment down below. We'll post the details when it's available. But would you be interested in having more of maybe potentially a private, in-depth conversation and more of a formal training on this? Because my sense is, and let me know your feel on this, but my sense is this is not just like a quick little boom, boom, here's what it is, da-da-da-da, good to go. There's a lot of questions, because I'm looking at these questions here, and there's probably 15 or 20 of them that are not getting answered. And the challenging part is that there is a restriction to a degree when we do a free, not free, but just when we do it on Facebook or on YouTube, because they're monitoring it in censorship. Whereas when we do it privately, it's a little bit easier to be able to answer some questions that won't be out on the interwebs. So.
And I just want to remind people, when you started using essential oils, that's what I love about this group, is we all came together around our love for essential oils and working with our animals. Remember how intrepid you felt with that, how nervous, and am I doing this right? And what am I, so just remember that. But now look at you.
These two oils on.
Yeah, yeah, look at you. You're all carrying around your oils. I got an oil for that and this. And that's exactly what this is. It's just another way of working with it. And what I love is working with folks in your community because they already have the basic understanding of essential oils. And so introducing CBD oil, it actually goes really well. And we know, with natural modalities, layering. So bring in some other essential oils, especially with the allergies. I'm always incorporating things like Hello Chrism and Copaiba and Sacred Frankincense when we're working with those in addition to the CBD oil.
And that's why Young Living went down. I don't know what happened with it because I've been.
They're waiting for legalities. Trust me, I looked into it big time right away as soon as I saw it, and they're waiting for the legalities because right now they're up against it too. Like they could lose their processing system if they just went forward. So they have to be really smart about how they move forward. Yeah,
and I'm sure they're on that. But I think the only reason I brought that up was simply because they were going to be putting some of the essential oils in it, because you're already doing that in your own intuitive way, which is pretty neat. But some people are like, I don't know if it's going to react or whatever.
And that's the thing, interactions. People wonder about that because they're like, I'm not ready to give up the traditional, whatever my dog or my people are on. There have been no found interactions with high quality CBD. What they do find is that the CBD helps enhance the effects of the other medication. So you just like, any prudent doctor would do, they're going to watch and pay attention to the levels to make sure that their dosing is correct and on par with where it needs to be. But people don't have to worry. I'm taking, my dog has got chemo or radiation. Can you do this? Taking the CBD actually helps to protect the tissues, the healthy tissues, and helps the system rebound from that assault.
Yeah. So I was listening, but I was also reading some of the comments, which are making me smile. It's like 30 of you that saying, yeah, you would like to. So there's definitely an interest on there. And this one, this lady, Sarah, said she couldn't be on, but she really wanted to try to get an answer. And she was able to post it early. So Sarah, this is just for you because I told you we'd make sure we get this for you. So I don't know if you can see the question, Ana Maria, but you guys can kind of see me. I'm still back here. But I'm going to read it for the benefit of the recording after. So I have a question regarding CBD oil. Before I gave it read, I think she meant before I gave it a read. Oh, she read the label. Do not give if pet is allergic to hemp. And I said, well, how do you know if it's allergic or not? My dog tried it for 1 week and started losing hair. Is that a sign that she is allergic to hemp? The vet said it looked to be a food allergy, and that was all we changed. We took her off immediately and added melatonin 5 milligrams once a day. And in a month, the hair is almost grown back. So what other symptoms can occur? My vet couldn't find any reference to detox her, but happy to report she's better. So did you think that is, I have my thoughts on it, but I'm curious your thoughts on
I have never, ever, ever heard of anything like that. My intuition tells me that there's another ingredient in there, whether it's the carrier oil that they're using or some other mix in the process that would cause that and trigger that somehow, and at the vets, this is really tough too, because our vets aren't allowed in the US. They're not allowed to talk about this openly because they hold a license with the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. And so if they suggest cannabis, they can lose their frickin' license. So they have to be really careful, and they tend to work with these commercial companies, which there's nothing wrong with them, but I don't know each company. I don't know what they put in. I don't know how they source their things. This is the thing. You got to trust who you're working with, and not that we don't trust our veterinarians, but again, they don't have time to look into all of that either. I've never heard of that from a true high quality CBD product to have that kind of a reaction.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head. I was going to say, I don't know, but what I picked up from it was that it was probably a very low quality oil that had a carrier in it, oil, another ingredient, and or how it was extracted. If they're using a synthetic process, aka gas like hexane and methane, to extract it out and not proper cold.
And there's residue.
Then there's that residue, and that could happen. So I would encourage you, Sarah, this is a little test because I like to, I've been testing this thing, the Ion Detox Foot Bath, which, by the way, are you familiar with those things?
I am. They're really cool.
Yeah. So I found a guy that is in Canada. He has an amazing unit. And one of the presentations this year on the summit is going to be, I had no idea, but this guy's been using it for 14 years. And there's people that are using it with horses and different animals. You can actually, it's kind of crazy. I didn't think this, but they put the leg or the hoof of the horse in this big pail, and then they put the array in there. And some of the stories he was telling, I'm like, dude, this is unreal. So we're putting together I'm helping him put together some of this data, because I had no idea. We had people ask, like, I wonder if I could use this on my pet or on my kids. And apparently you can, but there's, again, something specific instructions. And the reason why I brought that up was because, Sarah, I wanted to, that's why I brought this up. Welcome to Barney's Brain. Is that I want to know. I will read something, and I'm interested in the research and the studies, but I want to know that I can prove through my own experience. I don't need all of the scientific data. If I see a measurable, quantifiable change or a result in using Ana Maria's CBD oil compared to this other stuff. So that's my encouragement to you, Sarah, is contact Ana Maria, join her list, get one of those free calls, and use her oil, because I want to know if it is, and I'm sure Ana Maria would want to know too, is if your dog did have that same experience on a high quality oil compared to not having that experience, then it was a quality issue. And this is where the abyss opens up even further, because now there's all these questions. And is it related to quality? Is it related to the improper application or the improper dosage? And that's where and why I think you'll do amazing with guiding people properly through a mini masterclass.
At least it takes out that concern. Is it a high quality product? We already know that. I've already done that work for you. And it reminds me of, if someone goes and uses some grocery store brand of lavender essential oil, the difference in what they're going to experience or their animal's going to experience. Please don't do that, by the way. Yeah. But it's true, that was my learning curve. I take everything into my living laboratory, so I'm like, oh, so Young Living says this, that, or the other, so let me try. And, you get the grocery store brand and you're like, oh my God, there's no comparison. And it's certainly not going to get any therapeutic value from the grocery store one, like I'm going to get, like the veterinarians that I trust. I've had so many different holistic veterinarians who talked about and shared and utilized and instructed me in utilizing Young Living essential oil. So I trust that, and there's a track record of safety.
Yeah, that, and I did a workshop one time. I did an intro to the oils at the grocery store, and they have these little cooking things. And the lady said to me, she was like, well, I just want to make sure that it's not a big sales pitch for Young Living. And I said, it's not, but I'm doing a free seminar, so I'd like to tell people what my experience has been. She's like, okay. So she's like, as long as I can bring in our grocery store oils, I'm like, no problem. Right? Comparison. And I don't know if it was that I felt awkward because everybody else is like, what's going on? Or if I felt the awkwardness coming off of the lady that was watching the workshop, because she was going through it. And I think she was having this paradox. And I think that this is where this happens more often than not. And it's like the silent paradox where I pass the peppermint around of the other brand, and then I passed around Young Living, and I said, I don't know about you, you be the judge. And at least 90% of the room was like, this oil was much more superior. And the lady, she's representing the grocery store. So I said, yeah, and there's different qualities and grades. So it just depends on what you're looking for. I didn't want to be like, yeah, that's crap, and this is the best, because I think it then polarizes people too much. But I wanted to share that just as a funny little laughable story, because I think that this is going on. In fact, I know this is going on in the CBD world, and that's where I would trust in your experience and then my own knowing too. And I want to pass that off to as an encouragement to everybody watching, because when you come from that place of okay, I'm going to take in Ana Maria's knowledge, training, education, some of the stuff, if anything, that Barney added was helpful. Little joke there. And then my own experience, get some high quality, go to Ana Maria, get some high quality CBD, and then do your own testing, because then that from experience, and you're not regurgitating information or references or citations from other sources. When you have that inner knowing, to me, humbly speaking, that's worth more than any scientific study.
Yeah, and I just had a question come in, so I just want to clarify this. If you go to my website, intentiontraining.com, you scroll down to latest news or latest events, right in the center, the power of plants. That's where you click to opt in to get the CBD information right away. If you click, if you opt into my newsletter, you're going to get it, but it's going to be like tomorrow or something. So if you want to short circuit that and just get in there, that's where you go.
Okay, cool. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing. We only went 16 minutes over, but it's good. I think that everybody's okay with it because there's still 55 people on here. So a couple things on housekeeping items. For those of you, pardon me, who want to join our community as our paid community with the Animal Wellness Summit, you can go. We still have it open. Just be patient with us at the exact time of me recording this right now because we're making some updates to get things ready for you for this year, which means that you'll soon be able to sign up and get registered for the 2019 summit. And you get on the pre-notification list, and then when it's working correctly, you'll get a 48-hour access to all of the trainings that we have in there. So as soon as you sign up, the counter starts for 48 hours, and then you can jump in there and watch Ana Maria's presentation, okay? So that's that. That's the housekeeping. The other thing is making sure that you go to Ana Maria's website. And then as Amy's helping us here, thank you, by the way, we appreciate you in helping, is that, yes, I had people asking that, saying that right now it's live. I want to watch from the beginning, and they can't. And that's just because we're live. But as soon as we finish, it'll be a live video. It'll also go in our members area. It then goes on YouTube. We then take the audio and extract that out and make it available to our members on our members area so that they can listen anywhere they are from their phone. And we haven't done this yet, but we are going to be taking these calls and making it into a podcast where people can go back and listen, which is great for you, Ana Maria, because your website, just everything, all the work that you're doing, I feel like in a way, a lot of the presenters that are part of the summit have been doing so much work behind the scenes and then not getting the chance or working towards it, but it takes a lot of work, as you know, in online marketing, to get the awareness and the eyeballs. So I just want to leave you guys with that, to say that if you resonate with what she's sharing, go to her website and sign up for her materials, buy the CBD oil. If you resonate with what we're doing here, we'd love to have you on the inside as a paid member. And if not, then just keep jumping in on these live calls every week. We'd love to make sure to keep having you here. And is there any final words of wisdom, Ana Maria, that you'd like to leave us with as we wrap up for today?
Well, the big thing is the fear is more detrimental than anything else. So notice that the places where you have fear about caring for your animals, and because mainly that's coming from us all wanting to do right, to do the best. And then education. Get educated. There's more than one side. When you hear it, just like Barney said, when you hear it too much one way, you know there's another side. And the truth is where it is for each of us and our animals in there somewhere. To me, education is power. That's how we learn. That's how we experience. That's how we move through this life. I'm so grateful for this platform. I'm so grateful for people like you that stand up for truth and our own personal experience, and not just buying to buy, but to really be invested at the intellectual level. So I'm grateful. I'm honored to, I'm honored to be able to help the animals in this way and to help the humans. And here we grow again.
Yeah, for sure. And it's amazing. I just want to say thank you as well, because I think were you scheduled this week, or was there somebody else that were you regularly scheduled for this call? Or
I think I was for this one. I think so. Yeah. Okay, Jamie's so good. She's like, I just scheduled you because I know how busy you are, and then you can tell me yes or no.
Good on. High five for Jamie. I told her.
I love her.
I'll make it. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. And so that's on a recording. Jamie, when you watch this and listen to it, you're awesome. We appreciate and love everything you do behind the scenes. She likes it because I like being in front of the camera and talking, interacting with you guys, and she likes just being behind the scenes. But yeah, so basically the last question that I wanted to acknowledge is somebody's asking what the questions is yes, you can. So I think that you're referring to Vicky. I don't know. There's a bunch of people that came in right at the end because people were tagging people, and we all know how it goes with Facebook Lives. In a perfect world, not everybody starts from the beginning and stays right till the end. But so I don't know where you came in, but if you're asking about these, you can post comments on here. Ana Maria and I will continue to do our very best within our capabilities and schedules to come back and answer your questions. But if you're referring to the questions for the masterclass, we will send out like an official, okay, this is when it's starting, send in your questions for this masterclass training. And then we take all those questions, and then Ana Maria and I and my team will review all the questions, summarize them, compile them, and then we will go through them on the training. But I have a feeling like the typical format of the masterclass is like 90 minutes. It's like 60 minutes of teaching and 30 minutes of Q&A. But my feel on this is it's probably going to be 2 hours of like maybe 45 minutes of teaching, maybe an hour. And then there's going to be probably at least a good 60 minutes of you answering questions. So
yeah, and the more questions people put in, that helps me prepare better. You know, what is it? How can we speak into your listening specifically for what you're needing? Because that's what I want to do. I want to create a class that's of value. And the truth is, most likely we're going to be able to, a lot of the answers are the same for a lot of the different areas. So the truth is we might be able to stay within the 90 minutes, who knows? But the more specific questions you give us, that's what's going to really create that experience. So yay.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you. Thank you everybody for joining in, and thank you for your kind words, Barb, and everybody else. Love to you guys as well. And this one is great from Carol Ann, just saying this call was like a breath of fresh air. Thank you both. So let's leave it on the warm and fuzzy note and say everything's cool. And thank you so much for everybody joining in, and also for Ana Maria for tuning in. If you think we did a great job, leave us a comment below. Go to the websites. You can buy one of our paid options, and if not, then keep your opinions to yourself. That is my good sense of humor, and I hope you get it. So Brian, okay, I said that. I probably say this. My wife, she's like, you say last thing like 15 times. So your
daughters are going to love that growing up, by the way.
No, they do, and it drives my wife nuts. But that's why we make a perfect match, because anyways, it's just we challenge each other to grow in different areas. So Sarah's saying, hey Sarah, I think Sarah May is one of our VIP members from the UK. She keeps changing her name and her profile picture, and then I can't remember if it's the same one. But she's going straight to your website, and Brian's on there and can't see the button for the plant. So let me do this real quick, because I think this is important, because there's people. Yeah. I can put the screen up here.
Perfect.
In my magical technology wonders.
Yeah, this is perfect. Show people where we're going.
Yeah. So right here. Now tell me, I have to add it up here. So you guys won't see us for a second. Just prepare yourselves. You're not going to be able to see us. That was a joke, because it might not matter. Okay, so tell me where to go on here.
So scroll down past those cute pups.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay.
Scroll. One more pup down. There, right there. Latest news, the power of plants. Click that. Right, it'll take you to an opt-in page. Put your name and your email in. As soon as it accepts that, it'll take you straight to the presentation. And below the presentation, there are going to be order options.
Okay, cool. Well, there you go. So there's your little tutorial instructions for you from the professional Barney and Ana Maria. So you go to the website, you scroll down, and right here for Power of the Plants, it takes you to this page. And that is going to do which again?
That's going to add you to my mailing list, first of all.
Okay.
So that you can keep getting great information from me. But immediately you're going to be given the Power of Plants CBD presentation, where I talk about what it is, how to work with it, all of those things. And then you have order options under there for international and in the States.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. So then they can get on there. And then also when you guys are ready, maybe give us like 2 days at the Animal Wellness Summit. So if you go to that go.animalwellnesssummit.com, because our www.animalwellnesssummit.com URL isn't working right now, but it will be soon, because we're doing some work. But you'll be able to go there. You can opt in to register early for our summit later this fall. And then you can, for the 48-hour pass, where you can go in, so you can listen to both of her trainings, Ana Maria's trainings in there as well. And then that way you get the best of both worlds. So
yes.
Yeah.
And your questions will help shape what presentation I do for this year, because the wheels are already turning. You know, what presentations am I going to do? So we'll see, you know, who's speaking up: the cat people, the dog people, the horse people, the hamster people, whoever it is, or the particular ailments. We'll take a look and see what people have questions about, and I'll tailor besides the masterclass, I'll tailor my presentation around that as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Well, And glad to see that Sarah, you're on here. And then Lori says, thanks, and not as afraid anymore. So I think we've accomplished the goal. And we are 26 minutes over of adding value for you guys. This is awesome. So we're going to actually sign off now, so don't ask any more questions. And we'll see you guys in the future, or as my Paka, who is grandpa in Dutch, who has long since passed, always used to say, we'll see you in the movies. All right. See you, everybody.